Okay, hello, I'm Kier, and I've had a long week. I'm filming in front of a window, so we'll see how the light goes. And I'm going to talk about some romance books, particularly Christina Lauren, who is two authors with their first names together, so who knows who wrote what. I have been kind of skeptical about them. I don't know, I always feel kind of weird when I know that multiple people have read or written the same things. It's the same thing with Elena Ferrante. Like, I know she's probably not Sketch, but it feels weird that I don't know who she is. With this saying, I did read 5 of their books this week, so I can't really say that I had that many misgivings. So originally I'd been having a long week, and I was just like watching rom-coms and then watching Christmas rom-coms, and I'd always heard good things about In the Holidays, but that's not where I started. I was thinking about, how a lot of them have to do with like forced proximity and like fake dating, and then I got the recommendation of the Unhoneymooners, and I was like, I think that this is what I want. I want a book in which these characters have to pretend to be married to get a free holiday. That's what I want. So I did that, and then after that I was like, oh, this is delightful, and then went straight into In a Holidaze, which is my favorite of these books. I think it's really well done. I know why it's like really well received and like liked, and my hair is in my face. How do I keep my hair down without it actually covering my eyes is always a magical thing. And then where did we go on here? Oh, this is where it took a little bit of a nosedive. I read my favorite Half Night Stand, and this is a book, one of the earlier books. I think it's only like a 2018 book, but I found that any book that was before like 2020, I didn't love it as much. I don't know. I felt like the ones that were later had more depth, had more point of view, had just like rich character dynamics and stuff, and I really liked that. So this one was two best friends that I really liked, that they were best friends and they were kind of like in love with each other but not in love with each other, and then they meet on dating profiles because they all want to go to this event, and they have slept together now, so they want to make it weird, so they do a dating profile, but one of them really like struggles to like open up. The woman struggles to open up, but then she makes a fake profile with just like the side of her face, and then she talks to him, and it's great and wonderful and all of these things. But the things that they talk about are not like deep personal things, I guess. Like, it's like, oh yeah, I'm a mess and my dad's sick, but it's not like, I guess, getting into the grit. Although I have a background in counseling, so like, if we're not talking about like our traumas and big T trauma and like what messed you up as a child in the first conversation, then like, I don't know, are we friends? Studying counseling really did like a misrepresentation of how people open up and talk, because if you're counseling, you're like, yeah, we have to get through all of our trauma, we have to talk about it, so then we're like prepared to like talk to other people about their trauma, and then we have to be like well adjusted. And what is your attachment theory? Like, have you thought about the Gottmans and like, the ways of the horsemen, the four horsemen, and like how that comes into your life? What narratives do you tell? How do you feel about existential therapy? What are the lies of CBT that you feel? These are just meaningless words that I'm putting out to most people, but if you're a person who watches television and looks at all of them misrepresenting therapy, and then you go, yes, that's it, yeah. Anyways, so that's my counseling rant. From there, I went to Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating, and I thought that this would be fun because I always love best friends not trying to date. This is a little bit of an earlier, I think it's a 2018 book as well, and I liked this one. I feel like the earlier books were also much more sexual, and I'm much more of a closed girl gal. One of them lives in Utah, and I thought that they were Mormon, and I thought all of their books were pretty not spicy. So the first one I was like, oh yeah, there's like a little bit, but not much. Yeah, so if you have good like closed door romance books, I would love that. I would love to see that, because I'm in a romance mood, but I really don't love reading the spiciness as much. So yeah, this one and my Half Night were much more. See, I think I thought my Half Night meant that like they didn't go all the way, and I was like, that means it's not going to be sexual, and it was. Yeah, but Hazel and Josh are interesting. I feel in some ways that this was like the bottom of the barrel, but then it had some really good moments as well, because this one was narrated between both of them. Some of them, like the Unhoneymooners and A Holidaze, was only the girl narrating, and I think that sometimes that does allow like a deeper point of view and stuff, because it's like really getting to her moments. This one, like, I liked Hazel in Hazel's voice, but as soon as like Josh was narrating about it, she felt very stereotypical, and I'm not sure if Christina and Lauren kind of go back and forth, or they both read it. I don't know, they both kind of come out with 2 books a year, so maybe they're like just writing separate books. I don't know. I would love to like know the process behind it, and they probably have videos or like interviews talking about that, and I'm just not aware. But yes, I thought this one was interesting. I'm also like a person who is quirky and also tends to believe that like no one will love me because I'm a lot. Not necessarily in like the typical ways that like Hazel is. So I feel like I wish, like, it always seemed like because she doesn't have a filter or because like she's like doing the most bizarre thing. And I think that sometimes like, I don't know, our unlikability is not embarrassing in the most embarrassing way all the time. Like, it's like it felt in sometimes that it tipped over into like the klutzy girl phrase, which is another thing that I am frustrated because I am the most klutzy person in the world. Like, my roommate doesn't let me like wash her mugs because I break them so often, and part of that is like my disability and my ability to hold things, but like I walk into walls, I trip, I fall, I've had like broken toes and broken everything. It is not pleasant. Don't romanticize klutziness because it's not fun. So I felt in some ways where I was like, yeah, like this is, but then it felt like so dramatic. But also the kind of the crutch of it is that her previous relationships always felt embarrassed by her, and she doesn't want to be in a relationship where she feels embarrassed or that they're not embarrassed by her, so she thinks she's going to be single forever. And I like really enjoy that deconstruction. I think it's very good. And Josh has just gotten in a relationship with his partner that was cheating on him. And this is something that is like through a lot of them. The Unhoneymooners and this one also had it where like men just in relationships with really shallow women, which I was not a fan of. Like I really want depth, and I do believe that everyone has depth, and some of the women had less depth than I would like. And yeah, I just felt in some moments I was like, I'm not necessarily sure that like, I don't know, maybe people are in just relationships for just sex for long periods of time, but they are going on like a bunch of double dates in which they just end up as double dates. And I love that trope. I love the fact that every time they were like, we're gonna set people up because we want to hang out, but we're not going to like think that we're gonna hang out. And like, I just really liked that. And then the Honey Don't list. This was interesting. It sounds like it's an older work, but it's actually one of their newer ones. I think it came out last year. And this is not one of the ones that have ever been hyped, but I felt that this one was like a deep introspective work as well. It follows both of them, but it primarily looks at her like she's the one who's being more introspective. And the thing about her is her name is Carrie, which I kept on messing up because if you guys have watched the third season of You, the like bro-y influencer dude is named Carrie, and that's kind of the dynamic here where we have these people that don't always have 100% a good marriage, but are like very online and like Netflix famous and they're reality famous and stuff, but behind the scenes their marriage is crap. And that's not quite the dynamic in You, but there's some similarities there. And yeah, you really see this. And Carrie, when she was 16, she was struggling financially, she was struggling with a lot of things, and they let her work at her store. And they kind of adopted her as a pseudo-parent, like they're not, she's older than their children, but they are early in 40s, they had romance early and stuff, and she designs a lot of their stuff, she's very close to them, and she's never worked, she doesn't have a college degree, so she feels like a lot of insecurity, she's never had another job. And it really looks at the toxicity in working and when you feel like you can't do any better and all of these things. And she also has a functional movement disorder and her hands shake and stuff. So I really love the representation of that. I have noticed that Christina and Lauren do spend a lot of time like wanting to have diverse characters and diverse representation throughout their books. Even in their earlier books, I can see inklings of that coming through. And as the books have gone on, I've seen that more and more. And I really do appreciate the representation here and the ways in which she's kind of like exhausting herself and that stress interacts with it and stuff like that. And it's not something that is like deeply ingrained in the plot, but it's like just a facet of her personality and how she does feel like she has to have this job because she needs to have health insurance because of her illness and stuff. And I think that all of that is very relatable to a person who has a disability, who has similar kind of things going on in my life. And yeah, I thought that the nice thing about this is the couple in this never actually pretend like they're not a couple. Like there's things because of the work dynamics and stuff that people don't want them together, but they themselves are never really on a disagreement about them wanting to be together. And I felt that was really refreshing as well. So where do I rank all of these books in my ramble fest? I hope that you weren't expecting like succinct things. I'll name this like chatty something because it is very chatty. I think for me, In A Holidaze is like really good. And it's like, I think it's really well done because it has a time travel kind of Groundhog Day representation. She's 26, which is about to be my age, which I'm super excited about. I'm going to be 26 in just over a month, so yay. I get to be an elder 20s person and figure out my life and, you know, have my best friend fall in love with me. Dreams. She has these feelings of just not knowing where life goes, and again, she feels like she's a failure. She's back in living with her parents, and she is worried about all of these things going wrong. Also, in this and several of the others, the parents have these dynamics of being messy divorced and stuff, which I appreciate. I have some friends in my life that I just know that like their parents have never divorced because of the cost and stuff, and in the Unhoneymooners, the parents aren't divorced because of like tradition and stuff like that. And in The Holidaze, her parents are divorced, but like they still come to this event every year, and that's like the one time they see each other as a family. And I really like the representation of diversity in divorce and in parent situations and stuff. And I feel like that's something that like often doesn't get represented, and like it's always just like happy family, beautiful family, arguing family, and or like people that never talk to it and parents and stuff. And I feel like this dynamic brought something to the story. And yeah, I don't know if I have anything. Okay, so In the Holidaze is wonderful, and I would read it again. It is very great. It had some great like talking about life and talking about stories and talking about, I also loved the family dynamics, like because it was set in family, it really had that. And so did the Unhoneymooners. Like I liked both of them because it for a lot of the time they're in Hawaii and they don't have their family, but in the second half or the last like 2/3 they do come back, and they definitely have the family dynamic and support system, which is just really lovely. And yeah, I also felt their characters were much more complex. They also have really good communication throughout a lot of things. The Unhoneymooners also has like a plot that is very unique to like any rom-com that I've ever read, and it has the kind of third act fight confusion on a really grounded and like really compassionate lens. Like people are upset because of where they are situated, but it is not like in a way that doesn't make sense. It's not a miscommunication. It makes sense why these characters are upset, has the characters have compassion for each other in the reasons why they're upset. And I really just love that representation of like healthy, good communication. And then yeah, I don't know necessarily, I think I liked aspects of the other three, but they were definitely not at the same level. But yeah, that was my week of reading Christina Lauren. Which just felt like a little bit of a haze, you know? Just like a time loop of being like, and I'm gonna read another romance. So yeah, if you have some like closed bedroom or just clean romance in general, I would love to hear the recommendation, because I think that more than anything, I was like, maybe I'll read like YA or something like that, but I love the 20s or 30s, like working through people's dynamics. One of my favorite romance authors has to be Talia Hibbert, but I've like stepped away from her books because I don't like how explicit them are. They make me uncomfortable. And so I like love some of the aspects and I don't love other aspects. I also really liked the Jasmine Guillory books that I've read, but again, also quite explicit and just not my speed and stuff. So yeah, if you have some more closed door romances that have like complicated dynamics, or just contemporaries that are not based on romance, that have like good family dynamics, good like complicated things, coming of age in your 20s, or like figuring out what the things are. And I feel like that's just so much more realistic as someone who is in my mid to late 20s to like think about and to consider, where it's like I love YA fantasy, but like that's a different dynamic, and I've lived almost 10 years past that time, so like I love the complexities of being an adult, and I find like romance often touches those. So yeah, happy reading and writing and enjoying books, and I'll talk to you next time.